Welcome to the Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff. Mailbag on today's show. Training camp has gotten underway in Miami Gardens. It's time to answer some of the questions coming from the Dolphins fans. We'll start with Sherry May, who asked why Odell Beckham Jr. is on the PUP list. Is he hurt or are they resting him? Great question, Sherry May. This came out just before training camp started, about 1 day before when the veterans reported on Tuesday. And if you're going on the active PUP list, you do have to be on there before training camp begins. I am not concerned about OBJ being on the PUP list whatsoever. As you see from the initial note coming from Tom Pelissero, he's just working back some minor injuries, did not participate in mandatory minicamp or OTAs. So there's been obviously something nagging him all offseason long. But the Dolphins aren't concerned because they obviously signed him. So it obviously didn't concern them back then when they made the signing. And I don't think it's concerning them now either. He's just going to probably take a couple weeks to get his feet wet, get back into full form. And then when he hits the field in practice and training camp, he's going to be ready for full contact. I am not concerned for OBJ. I wouldn't call it rest. He probably does have a legit injury, but he's going to come off the PUP list, in my opinion, very, very soon and start participating in practices for the Miami Dolphins. Make sure you are following us over on Instagram for more Dolphins content. We are under 200 followers away from 500. The handle is at the bottom of your screen, at Dolphins Today IG. When we get to 500 followers, we're doing a Q&A from our Instagram DMs. So make sure you do follow us over there. Content in between each video we put out here on our YouTube as well. So if you really want to be the most informed Dolphins fan, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us over at Dolphins Today IG. Coming in a mainstay here at the channel, Jacques Ladere asking a question. Thoughts on Greg Van Roten visiting the Giants? Yeah, one of the top free agent targets for the Miami Dolphins visited the Giants organization on Monday afternoon. Obviously, at that same day, Miami hosted Yannick Ngakoue and Emmanuel Ogbah. They obviously signed Emmanuel Ogbah. But Van Roten is someone that I've had as a Miami Dolphins free agent target for quite a bit. I think he would come in and be the starting right guard for the Dolphins right away. Doesn't seem like Chris Grier is that entertained by doing that. I disagree with Chris, but he is neglecting that starting right guard spot, looking to see what he has in the building with Jack Driscoll, Robert Jones, Liam Eichenberg, Lester Cotton. So I think it's going to be a little bit. I hope Van Roten's still on the board and he doesn't get signed relatively soon, so Miami can still go out and get him and add him to this roster if they deem it is necessary after watching their own guys participate in 2-3 weeks at camp. CJ Carson. Dolphins, could Miami fire Mike McDaniel if the Dolphins have another late collapse is how I'm going to read that. Listen, I know it's been frustrating for some Dolphins fans to see seasons not end so well. Back-to-back years under Mike McDaniel where the team gets off to a hot start, falters late in the year, not able to win the big game in the cold or against a team of really good and above 500. But you're not firing Mike McDaniel whatsoever. Now, if it happened in a third straight year, I think uncomfortable conversations would have to be had, but there is not a world in my mind where they fire Mike McDaniel. I will say this. If the Dolphins start off the year like 6-2, 7-1, and then collapse at the end of the year again and there's a quick exit in the postseason or not even make the playoffs, and then it happens for a fourth straight year, so not this year but the year after, well then, yeah, you might actually have to move on from McDaniel. But I don't think McDaniel's seat is even close to being warm. One of the best offensive minds in football, and all the players like playing with him. I think it's a big year for McDaniel to prove that narrative wrong. I believe it will be the case, too. I think an AFC crown is coming. Hopefully it's not my bias and too much optimism. I just think this roster's very talented, and I think they're finally going to learn from their mistakes in year 3 under Mike McDaniel. But you let me know, is this a make-or-break year for head coach? I don't think it is. I think we're 1 year away from it potentially being a make-or-break year. But you guys let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Type Y for yes or type N for no. David Richards, are we ready to go to the Super Bowl? I believe so. It's actually kind of funny you asked that because that kind of piggybacks off the last question from Carson, right, about Mike McDaniel and if he could be on the hot seat if they collapse late. I think this team is, man. And like I said, hopefully I'm not too biased and too much of an optimist here. But I think this roster is a top 5 roster in football. I do. When you look at it top to bottom, and sure, there are some questions at right guard, but if this team stays fully healthy, no, it's a big if, but you look across the board here, I think Tua is someone who could take you to the Super Bowl. Can he win? Different story, but we've seen Jared Goff take a team to the Super Bowl. We've seen Brock Purdy take a team to the Super Bowl. Like, Tua is in those conversations, so if the roster and path is good enough, it's possible. Running backs are elite. I think it's the best running back room in all football. I think they've got the best wide receiver room in all of football. The offensive line is so-so. We know that. Probably one of the weaker points on the team. But then you flip it to the defense. The starting cornerback duo, Fuller and Ramsey, elite. Holland and Poyer on the back end, elite. I like David Long Jr., Jordan Brooks, Anthony Walker. Fully healthy, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Emmanuel Ogbah, the two rookies at the edge, Calais Campbell, Zach Sealer. Like, this roster and the starting lineup is elite. If Mike McDaniel gets the folks ready to go, they stay healthy, and they're able to secure the AFC East and get home field advantage for at least one or two playoff games, yes, I think a Super Bowl run could be on the way. If you only have to win one game on the road or somehow have such a good regular season where it comes through Miami in January leading to the Super Bowl, I think the Dolphins can make it there. And then if you make it there, it's one game. Anything can happen. I think the team is ready if they can stay healthy. Make sure you do get your tickets for this upcoming Dolphins season with GameTime. But, hey, in the meantime, you can also use them to get tickets to go to some MLB games, go to comedy shows, concerts, anything you need. GameTime is there for you, and it's the ticketing app that I use, and I think you need to use it as well. I've used them countless times in the past, whether going to a Noah Khan concert down here in Dallas, Texas, where we're located for Chat Sports, or whether it be going to a Heat Mavericks game that I attended back in February. I use GameTime the most when I get my tickets. It's the only place I can get tickets. They have priority last-minute deals. You could save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets, whether it be for sports, concerts, comedy shows. Like I said, it literally has anything. And another portion that I like on this app, you can see your vantage point, whether it be in a concert, sporting event. You're not going to get blindsided by a bad view. You will know exactly where you're sitting, as you see on screen right here. If you wanted to go to the Bills-Dolphins game on Thursday Night Football in Week 2, you can see where you're going to be sitting and seeing your vantage point of the field. What else can you ask for with GameTime? And I think it's just the absolute best. So download it today, and you can get $20 off your first purchase with code ChatSports. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the app, create an account, and use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download, last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Chase coming in. How would you rate the Dolphins defense after losing Shaq Barrett? Yeah, so this has been a main topic of the past week or so. Shaq Barrett last Saturday obviously announced his retirement on Instagram. Kind of stunned all of us here at Dolphins Today, and I know a lot of Dolphins fans were stunned as well. I just did not see that coming. But they obviously signed Emmanuel Ogbah on Tuesday morning to be the Shaq Barrett replacement. And I was bullish on Barrett, two-time champion, had 8 sacks in 2020, 10 sacks in 21, was a main part of that dominant Bucs defense that won the Super Bowl with Tom Brady back in 2020. And I thought he was going to have a really good resurgent year after signing a one-year contract with the Dolphins in free agency to be that third edge rusher behind Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. But obviously with him gone, you slide in Emmanuel Ogbah, who the Dolphins released, and then they bring him back. Ogbah initially didn't want to return to the Dolphins because he didn't like the scheme fit with Vic Fangio, but with Anthony Weaver now being the new defensive coordinator, it adds a lot more, I guess, need for Emmanuel Ogbah, and I think Ogbah fits better in this scheme and system. He obviously felt the same way, or he wouldn't come back to the 305. Ogbah being that third pass rusher, I'm hoping he can have another good season. He was so-so last year, had 5.5 sacks. Can he be a 6-7 sack guy in rotation with Chubb and Phillips? I hope so. Definitely think Barrett's better. Don't get it twisted, but it's not that big of a downgrade if you're asking me. Derek Washington with a question. Will Tyreek Hill break 2,000 receiving yards? Listen, it'd be one heck of a season for Tyreek Hill. I don't see that being a possibility. As fun as it would be to see Tyreek Hill get 2,000 yards, I just don't think that's possible. He's obviously had back-to-back years of 1,700 yards in Miami. He's been absolutely dominant. But here's the thing. You're adding Odell Beckham Jr. to this room. You're adding Malik Washington. Jalen Waddle's continuing to get better. There's a more emphasis in the run game as well, with Jalen Wright and Devon Achane coming into the fold, and those two getting more work in the passing game as well. Jonnu Smith at tight end. Like, I just think there are a lot more weapons in this Dolphins offense than there has been over the past 2 years, which is kind of crazy to say. So I think the distribution will go out more evenly across this Dolphins offense. I also think if Tyreek Hill's not going to get 2,000 yards in the year that Tua led the league in passing with 4,600 yards, unless we think Tua's going to get to 5,000 passing yards and lead the league in passing again, which is unlikely, can happen, but unlikely, I don't see that much of an uptick in Tyreek Hill's usage where he gets to 2K, but it would be one hell of a year if he was able to do it. Make sure you predict the Miami Dolphins record for me down below. I want to get your thoughts. Training camp getting underway. This team's got a semi-difficult schedule, easy early on, hard late. Can they finish strong and win the AFC East? Let me know your Dolphins record predictions down below. Cortland, who could be one surprise Miami Dolphins cut candidate? I mean, we've talked a lot about cut candidates in the past here. I'm going to try to think of a name that could be given out that I haven't done in the past. Give me a second here. I've talked about him a little bit in the past, but I'll go Durham Smythe. I know it's a little crazy, but I'm a big Jody Fortson Jr. guy. He signed a one-year deal with Miami this free agency. I think he's been really good in OTAs, minicamp, continuing that in training camp. And if he's able to dominate in the preseason as well, I just don't think you can keep him off this roster. And if you want him to be your second tight end to Jonnu Smith and be a red zone threat, maybe you keep Julian Hill as that third tight end to be your pure blocking guy in the red zone and jumbo package as well, which could leave Durham Smythe on the outside looking in. So if you want to give one surprise, kind of crazy one out there, I'll give you Durham Smythe. All right, that's going to do it for this mailbag. Make sure you are following us on Instagram. Like I said off the top, more content in between each video. You'll never miss a thing surrounding the Miami Dolphins as long as you subscribe and follow us on Instagram. @Dolphins Today IG is the handle, so give us a follow.